Food was everything. Like, food goes on the table and you eat fast or you don't eat in my household.
When did you start your YouTube channel?
I started my YouTube channel in 2017, 18. And I think people are waiting for me to fall off the wagon. I think that's what ultimately people are waiting for. They're like, this is going to catch up with you. I love Birmingham so much. I have always had like this really deep love for our city.
What was it like collaborating with Eddie Hall?
The best ever. I would do it again in a heartbeat. We can do like a 2-on-1 thing.
Imagine that. A 2-on-1 and we'd still...
No, I genuinely think we'd beat her, Lee, 2-on-1.
You think we'd beat her?
I can put a big mixed grill away, you know.
So, welcome back to the Brunken Drain. The Brunken Drain Wave.
The Brunken Drain Wave. That's a good name.
That is a brilliant name. Welcome back to the Drunken Brainwave. It's the first episode of our new series, the 0121, where we are going to try and champion all things Birmingham, entrepreneurial and content creator. And today is a special one, great one to start off with. I won't introduce her yet. Just yet. I'm going to do all the bits and bobs we need to do. So thanks for listening. As always, please jump over to the YouTube channel, Leah and Ad, give that a subscribe. Checking out loads of content on there. I'm Lee Wilcox. I'm the CEO of Electric House Social Media Publishing Group. And to my, I don't know whether it's my left or my left.
To the side of me.
I have another man.
Yes, it's Adam Barry, and I've got a new role. It's a good time to announce this. So I'm no longer creative director. I've given myself a new title, which is the Chief Content Officer. So I'm now CCO. So yeah, Adam Barry, CCO at Electric House.
So me and Ad have been friends for a very long time since we were kids. Built a business together, and now we try and talk a lot about all the shit mistakes we've made and try and help people along the way. So I want to get straight into it, right? Because our guest today, it's a big one. So our guest is 21 official Guinness World Records. I mean, mental. Is the #1 female food competitive eater in the country. Has done recent partnerships with IKEA, KFC, Yo Sushi, Kellogg's. Absolutely smashing it. YouTube channel is on fire. I'm very, very pleased to introduce our first guest on the 0121 series, Leah Shutkever. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, what an introduction. I think it's probably one of the better ones I've ever had. I don't know how to follow that.
Firstly, what I want to do is just give anyone listening a bit of an overview and a bit of a backstory on you. So I kind of want to hand over to you and be like, tell us about Leah. Tell us about how you got to doing what you're doing now. Give us the story.
So my name is Leah Shutkever and I am based in South Birmingham. I started out as a very generic, traditional life. I did school, college, university, got into fitness, and that was pretty much like the entirety of everything that I was. I studied architecture and I was massively into construction, and I was in architecture after I graduated for a while, and then moved into commercial interior design, and I was an interior designer for a while, just over 3 years. But whilst that was kind of going on in my life, I was massively into fitness. I was prepping for a bikini show in 2013, and at the end of my prep, my brother was going to this local restaurant doing the food challenge, and he failed 10 weeks consecutively, and I just couldn't. It was the best amount of banter that I've ever had against him, because he was like a rugby player and I played rugby, and we were both very competitive. But I was always able to eat lots of food. I grew up with a mum that was a chef and my dad was a farmer, and it was food was everything. Food goes on the table and you eat fast or you don't eat in my household. So I knew that I could eat. I knew that I could step up. And my brother said, there's no way that you'd be able to do it. It's the biggest burger you've ever seen in your life. It's massive and you only get 20 minutes to eat it. Only one person's ever completed it. There is no way. I said, look, after my prep, I promise I'll go to the restaurant and I'll give it a go, and I'm going to beat you. And essentially that is what happened. After my prep, I went to the restaurant. The restaurant actually recognized me from, now I wasn't on social media really, I was just on Facebook, and my brother and I had like a little bit of like a back and forth on a commentary on the picture of the burger. So they were like, are you going to take it on? And I said, I'm not sure, maybe. Now I'm competitive, right? But if I'm not 100% sure about something, like I'm quite reserved because I don't like to lose. So I kind of asked them a bit more about this challenge. They told me a bit more. I said, you know what, bring it out. My mum actually ordered extra cutlery so that they can help me when I failed. And that, I think, that got into me a little bit, like, I'm lose here. So anyway, I ended up taking on a new challenge they had in the first time. So that was a dessert challenge. It was like a stack of waffles, same size as the burger and everything, same rules, same price, everything like that, except it was a sweet challenge. And I pretty much tore through it in 6 minutes. And the waiter was like, what? My parents were like, what? My brother just could not live it down. And he said, but it's not the burger. So I went back, they called me back in, and I took on the burger, I did the pizza, I did the hot dog. And this was all like just for fun. Like it just ended up being my cheat meal for like a couple of weeks. And then I'd go there and do a big cheat meal and then carry on like a pretty strict bodybuilding diet and training. And this was like way back in 2013, 14. I was just in the start of my career and in the start of my life. And back then, like you didn't really take on social media full time. And I was super shy. Like there was no way that I was filming myself eating. No way. So it's been a learning process. And in 2015, I had a phone call to the office where I was working from a Japanese TV company that wanted me to take part in the World Championship Eating Competition, which was going to be taking place in New York. They wanted a Team GB, and they said, look, we've got a bunch of competitive eaters from the UK to take part in this qualifier in London. Come down, it's going to be really fun, and see how you do. And I thought, you know what, I'll go because there's going to be people there that I know that I've seen on social media that do food challenges, that have made a career out of it, or almost. And I would just have a bit of fun. And I won. I won it. It was 30 minutes on the top deck of a boat, on a canal. No, it was 30 minutes of eating cold Scotch eggs. Disgusting. I'm sorry to Scotch eggs lovers. I'm not a fan. It was winter, really cold, on a top deck of a boat on the Thames in the centre of London. And I managed to eat 15 Scotch eggs. And I had like 5 to 10 minutes left on the clock. But I could see that I was beating everybody. So I just sat and I just waited. And I ended up still winning. So I was obviously elated. When I competed at the World Championships 2 years in a row. And then after that, the USA eaters were like, you need to start a channel. So then I thought, oh, just do it. And I just started a channel. And really, and I know it's cliche, but the rest is history. I've just done challenges, filmed videos, had opportunities, taken them, grown, and just let it flow. Like I'm just going with it.
I absolutely love that story. So I know anyone just going back and demolishing everything on the menu for a start. I was like, that is brilliant. And then when you said that, that they wanted you to represent and have a Team GB, I was like, this is amazing. And then you won.
Crazy.
Incredible.
It was crazy. It was such an incredible time because, I mean, at the time I was just like, I didn't have social media. I didn't have an Instagram or anything like that. So it wasn't like I was doing it for a purpose. I was really just doing it for like, see what happens. I'm pretty competitive. And if that's the thing that I'm good at, then embrace it, right?
So that was in 2013, you said, yeah?
Was my first challenge. And
challenging your brother.
Yeah, the world champs were in 15 and 17.
And then when did you start your YouTube channel?
I started my YouTube channel in 2017, 18. I think it was like end of 17, beginning of 18.
You've been going for that like 3 years. You know, you've had what is like great growth on the YouTube channel now as well, and that seems to be just really sort of like taking steam now with that as well. How do you? Because not only are you doing this, you've still got a full-time job. That's correct, isn't it?
No.
Oh.
I became full-time on social media just over a year ago. And it was all just like a case of one thing led to another. I was training, I slipped a disc, I was out for the count. I had to quit my job because I was in a new job, in a new design role, and they were not tolerating it. I had an 18-mile round trip to get to the office and back every day. And if you know what a slip disc feels like, being sat down is torture. So yeah, long story short, I ended up quitting my job. I went into freelance design work. I had a few clients anyway on the side. So I started doing a lot of graphic design. I did a lot of just little private jobs, design work type things. I started getting into a lot of logo designing as well, which was very new to me. And then it was just a case of, I need to do something. I either put all of my energy into YouTube and actually push it, or I take my energy away from it. But if you divide yourself too much, you spread yourself too thinly on both planes. So it was just a case of bite the bullet, see what happens. And if not, I can always go back to freelancing.
How do you how much do you think you've moved forward with the brand of Leah Shutkever and the food eating competitor #1 and with YouTube? How much do you feel like you've moved forward now? You've been able to position yourself as sort of full-time and dedicate. How much of a difference has that made for you?
To put it in numbers, I've over doubled in the first year going full-time.
Right. And that's just purely based on content output, or?
Not so much. I think because my energy now is in the brand, and so my day-to-day thinking is all about what I can do next and putting my energy into the unpaid work, the stuff that you have to do at the start to get yourself somewhere. And the Guinness World Records is hours and hours of work. But I was provided an opportunity. I was told, do this. And it seems on the surface so easy to do, but it's hours and hours of work. And it's just to get your brand out there, your name out there, get people to recognize who you are. And as a female in some like industry that is just so unknown and so quirky, I thought, you know what, the further I distance myself from everybody else, in whichever direction, the better for the brand. So I have plugged a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of anxiety, because like it really gets to you, like doing like speed challenges especially. So yeah, I would say that it's made a huge difference.
I think it's really really interesting, isn't it, the whole like balance of like operating your own business or creating your own brand as such, the sort of concentrate on what not to do, that focus, the laser focus of sort of entrepreneurialism or growth in anything, you kind of need that dedication. So it's really interests me on even more so in your case, because you are a person, outside of the brand of Leah Shutkever, the competitive eater, and it's how do you find the balance between that as well, in terms of like, is it because you've had to dedicate full time, are you all consumed by all things eating? How does that affect the mindset of like normal life, when you are the creator, you are the brand, and you are the person, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I feel like this is a really common question for a lot of people that put themselves in the category of a public figure. I think when you put your brand as yourself and everything, it means that you are pretty much putting yourself in a point where people think that they own you in a respect, like they can call on you and depend on you. There's a familiarity there that you can't sort of ever take away then. So I do tend to see that with comments from people that obviously you never know, you've never seen, you've never met. And it's so familiar, and that to me is quite scary. I'm quite a private person, and there's quite a few things that I would rather not talk about on social media. And I think that's a self-preservation thing. I want people to know me as like Leah Shutkever, the competitive eater, and not delve into my private life. Keeping those two things separate keep me sane. So I'm not 24/7 the competitive eater, and I think that's very it's very surprising to some people. They're like, so you eat like this all the time? I'm like, no, I could be a garden shed. I could not just like fight off all those calories. It's not like it's not like a blessing thing. I think that it's more of a balance. When we're talking balance, and I'm thinking more, how do I not lose my identity doing this? So I have to like watch what I'm eating all the time. I have to be very cautious and very careful. And I think people are waiting for me to fall off the wagon. I think that's what ultimately people are waiting for. They're like, this is going to catch up with you. And so I think if I keep that balance, the videos, one each week, vary them in like nature and calories, make them speed and quantity. And if I just keep myself active and keep my mind healthy, then we're going to be all right, you know? Like, I'm confident that we'll be fine.
Yeah, it sounds like a smart approach.
Yeah, I think it's interesting actually, because I'll follow you on Instagram, and if you look at your feed, it's so strange to see these like huge food challenges, and then on the other side, it's like person who's really into their fitness, and they almost don't go together. And actually, if you look at like the history of food eating, it's probably like dominated by men. So you've got this female who's in this industry, who's killing it, who's absolutely killing it, world record holder of the lot. And then you've got the other side to you, which is the fitness side. How do you deal with the comments? Because I think a lot of people, when they go to social media, they think, okay, I'm going to go on social media, I'm going to put myself out there, this is going to really help me as a brand. But then when you're encountering any negativity or anything that's quite upsetting, it almost makes you think, oh, I don't want to do this. So how have you dealt with that?
I think my answer is probably not going to be very much different to everybody else's that are in the same position as me, where you do develop a very thick skin. And you think, my boyfriend works in mental health, and he obviously, so he's a mental resilience coach, and he's been very important in this whole filtering through comments thing. And he will often say, the main reason why somebody would ever say something negative towards you is more a reflection of them than of you. So in my mind, I think, okay, there are two reasons why somebody would be outwardly negative to somebody else. And I don't like to say that it's jealousy. It's more like an internal darkness within them, which they are reflecting onto you. So as long as you're able to recognize that and realize that actually they're the victim, not me. Like, I'm doing all right. Like, I'm not being negative to anybody else. Like, I'm here, I'm doing this thing, which obviously is to provide entertainment to people. And my philosophy is, look, if you don't like it, turn it off, don't look, scroll on, unfollow. Like, I'm absolutely fine with people doing that. Absolutely fine. Choose what makes you happiest and go with it.
Do you like being called a YouTuber? Is that something that you've sort of got used to yet?
I think I'm used to it. I don't like when people talk about it in a very derogatory term, as if it's like the worst thing in the world. Oh God, you're not one of those, are you? I'm like, what? It's just one of those things. Like, I'm on YouTube, so I guess I'm a competitive eater that does online content creator. There we go.
People don't understand it though, do they? So, you know, people use the word influencer as a bad term, and YouTuber. But if you really told them like what that involves, like to be there are bad influencers, but if you just, the phrase influencer or YouTuber, they're actually just like entrepreneurs and business owners, and they wear many hats. They're doing their own accounts, they're marketing their brand, they're creating content, they're doing so many different things, but people just look at them and go, oh, YouTuber. My son started a YouTube channel like 2 weeks ago, and he was like, I want to be a YouTuber. And I'm like, good. That is a great thing to do because there's so many things you can learn off the back of it. Whereas I think go back 10 years and said, I want to be a YouTuber, they go, you ain't being a YouTuber. Don't be silly. So I think it's changed, hasn't it? That sort of like perception, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. Never forget, I had an old uncle that was a farmer as well. And he always said to me, like, don't worry about education. Just get yourself a good trade. You'll be fine. That was that generation. Then my dad was like, go to university, study. He wanted me to be a politician. Can you imagine me being a politician? Like, I can't. First of all, I can't lie. And like, I just don't have it about me, you know. But he wanted me to be a politician. My mum wanted me to be a doctor or something like that. And so I was pushed in these very traditional roles, but I've ended up where I think that I was always probably going to be. And I think that that's very important, that kids now are I love to see that more kids are taking ownership of their identity and going, okay, I'm a really good this, and I'm going to show people, because I was brought up not being very showy, and I don't like to talk about things that I've done. And I guess mentalities have changed now, and I don't know whether the derogatory terms have come from those negative influencers, the people that would just do anything for a bit of money. I think that the role of an influencer, somebody that brings influence to other people, there's a lot of responsibility involved. And I'm just navigating. Like, I don't feel like I've got it like down. I feel like I'm just sort of bumping my way through life. But I do commend a lot of YouTubers for doing what they do.
Sort of bringing it back round to Birmingham. So look, the 0121 series is all about people in Birmingham and creating things and entrepreneurialism. And did you ever, as a content creator, there's often talk of like, get to London. That's where you'll create more content, collab with more people, get more brand deals. Was there ever a point that you were like, I shouldn't be in Brum. I should go to London and do my thing there?
So it's a really good question. I noticed on social media that the people that were based in London had more opportunities provided to them. They had a much bigger catchment. They were doing far better and growing far quicker because they were checking into the right places at the right times and things of that nature. I did about a year ago consider moving to London, but not for any other reason than I would be closer to all the restaurants that do the challenges. I thought it would be on my doorstep. I'd be able to access it far easier. And traveling into London is a nightmare, to say the least. Trying to drive into London, I don't even bother. So I did consider it, but I love Birmingham so much. I have always had like this really deep love for our city. And that came from when I studied architecture at university. Our main subject was Digbeth and was the city itself. So as I've gone through the years and after I graduated university, Birmingham just started evolving. It started to become like this business centre, and Digbeth has now been regenerated and the city's been regenerated. And I thought, you know what, this is where it needs to be. This is where it's at. And you're seeing a lot of small businesses pop up in Birmingham because it's far more affordable than London too. And also I just feel really attached to this city. And I don't feel like the growth and the convenience of being in London would ever be enough to take me away from here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and some of those points you've made there is a lot cheaper. Traveling into London, I know obviously we can get the train and HS2's coming, but that doesn't mean you have to move to London. It means that we can stay where we are. And who doesn't want to save money? And like you said there, the amount of money that we've seen over the past, probably since we started the Business League maybe 6 years ago, the amount of money that's been reinvested into Birmingham I think it is the place to be, and I think it is going to live up to its name of being that second city. Because I always think, like, even though we are the second city, I sometimes feel like Manchester's even been put ahead of us. But people like us, we're putting Birmingham back on the map. One thing I did want to ask you, moving away from Birmingham a little bit, I guess, but where do you see yourself in 5 years as Leah Shutkever, the brand? Is it still doing food challenges, or are you going to diversify and do something else?
It's really, oh gosh, you're really going in with the hard hitters today. My 5 years, provided that coronavirus isn't a thing still, I'm hoping we'll get over that. 5 years, I would like to start providing more of a product. I'm in the process of that, like creating more a product as a service to my followers and subscribers. So I see myself probably still creating videos. I want to move into more of a virtual TripAdvisor type role. I would really like to go into restaurants, show them what it's like, show the internals, show the seating, show the cutlery, like go into detail about if you're going to go to Birmingham and you're going to go to this restaurant, this is what the menu looks like, order a ton of dishes and be like, this is what you need to order. So I think that would be the most value I can bring to my channel, where people know I can eat a lot of food. They know I can eat a lot of food fast. And they know that I can talk about stuff. So I think in order to add that value to my channel, it is more about creating an experience. And I think that experience is going to be maybe more traveling around the UK. I want to promote the UK independent businesses as much as possible. I would like to try and do like Digbeth Dining Club, show people like all the items on the menu and just do something like that. I think they'd be more fulfilling for me and more fun and obviously more valuable to the city as well.
I love it. I was going to ask you about Digbeth Dining Club, but you already mentioned it. But what are the sort of like your favourite places to eat in Birmingham? Because we've got so many decent restaurants now. It's hard to choose, isn't it?
Oh my God. I think people undervalue Birmingham when it comes to food, but we have the most diverse variety of different cuisines that you can try and actually really, really great restaurants. It's really difficult for me to pick because I like everything from like fine dining straight to street food. And if we're going sort of from the fine dining down, I love Pennell's. If you've got the cash and you want to do like a 12-course taster, go to Pennell's, love it. It's like an experience, like an eating experience, and I love that. I absolutely love the Ivy. Again, it's not like it's sort of the higher end of the spectrum, but great atmosphere, great interior, like really, really great service. You'll always be treated well there. I went to, I think it's called Fazenda. It's like a steakhouse, another amazing food experience. Then if we're going slightly to sort of the middle, I'm talking Bonehead, love it. It's like a chicken burger type outfit. It's the best chicken burger I've ever had, like ever. Digbeth Dining Club, you will always find something for everybody. I would recommend it as like a night out with a group of mates because it like suits everyone. There's drinks, there's music, there's food, lots of different types of food as well. Everything from like pizza to burgers and chicken. They've got only jerkin. Only jerkin is amazing. Another great like chicken and chips type place with like the gravy and everyone loves it. In terms of desserts and sweet things, the Little Dessert Shop, fantastic. It's basically just a restaurant that does desserts. And we actually did a On the Tools pro eater versus builder at the Little Dessert Shop. They did us a big stack of pancakes. But they are, again, fantastic, great service, lots of different types of desserts, suits everybody. I've probably been to a few hundred different restaurants in Birmingham, and I think maybe a handful have disappointed me.
Yeah, it's an amazing city for food. Ad just wrote in the chat, I'm so hungry now. It's you know what I love about this, Leah, is that you can just see how passionate you are about food and about Birmingham, and I love it. I love the idea of your channel becoming this, like, your mix of like love of architecture and interior design, and like chucked in with cuisine and what people should order, and like I think that's a great strategy moving forward to be able to like offer that value. I think there's a ton of value from a brand perspective, or from from a restaurant perspective, and the viewer as well. I can't wait to see that. It sounds amazing. And interestingly, Panels and the Ivy, I've seen ads face light up. The Ivy is ads like go to, isn't it?
I'm sorry, that sourdough bread is just.
Honestly, my favourite thing at the minute in the world is the olives they do at the Ivy. The olives there are incredible. I'm just saying to them, keep them coming.
We actually have a really great relationship with them. The servers are so good. They are so attentive and charismatic, and you don't often get like a bit of back and forth with a waiter or waitress. But I find that every time that I've been there, they've always been on point. And it's like, do they train you to just be so like lovable? It's amazing. But yeah, the food definitely lives up. I had some really great experiences there. I'm a big fan of a steakhouse, but I find that they are, oh my gosh, how can I forget? Adding to my list is Fiesta del Asado, which is one of the greatest steakhouses. It's an Argentinian steakhouse on the Hagley Road. It is so good. There is one in Shirley now as well, which is fantastic. And there is another restaurant which I've been to. Really fantastic. Oh, we have such great food in Birmingham. We do have such an amazing selection as well, and places that I've not been, but like tapas places and Thai food, and yeah, I'm passionate about food. But I grew up with a mum that's a chef and a big feeder, and a family that are big foodies, Latin American background, and so we're all big eaters. We celebrate. We're sad. We eat. Somebody dies. We eat.
I love your passion. I think if Birmingham ever do sort of like a huge marketing campaign about why you should come to Birmingham, I think you should front it, definitely.
Yeah. Before we jump into we'll end with some like nice quick fire questions. But one of the things that I know Jamie really wants to know about is just specifically for Birmingham as well, from a content creation perspective. What do you think the city can do to sort of encourage young creators? Is it set up to do so at the minute? Is there studio space? What about TikTok houses? All these different things that are popping up in like London and Manchester. Is it happening in Birmingham, and are we doing enough?
I don't think that we are doing enough. I think that Birmingham still, even though it's regenerating in terms of its infrastructure, I don't believe that it's really supporting or future-proofing careers. I think that there could be far better. I mean, there's a lot of shared workspaces and things kind of popping up everywhere. I do love that. I like the idea of working cafes as well, but I think that the city itself should fund movements so that young people, obviously when we're not all in our own homes, young people can go network, communicate, work, grab a coffee, kind of like a social working space. I love the idea of those. There are enough like redundant buildings that can be spruced up and made into something beautiful. And I think that if you could get like a derelict plot and make something of it, why don't we do it? And I think that that's the biggest shame, and the biggest, people would drive through Birmingham and not see a lot, but there's so much to see, and I think it's a shame. And so maybe something like that as well. Maybe it needs to be like more awareness to what is there. And if it's not there, why is it not there? But yeah, it's a great city. It's still growing. It's still quite old in its mentality towards social media. I don't really want to see like hype houses and things like that, like in Birmingham. Like I really don't. I don't like the idea that the people that will do the best are the people that will be sort of forced in a house and collaborate and grow, and then everybody else is sort of like not good enough to collab with them. I like the idea of independent collaborations where you connect with somebody else, you collab, and then that person can go and collab. But I feel like it becomes very elitist, and I don't like that kind of attitude. If there's an open working space to film content and things, and you can sort of rent rooms out for the day, amazing, but definitely not like a concentration camp of TikTok videos.
I've not heard it described like that before. It sounds horrific. Right, look, it's been brilliant having you on, Leah. Before you go, we want to fire some quick fire stuff at you. Ad is going to start off with the quick fire questions, if that's all right.
Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, just to echo Lee there, it's been absolutely great, and I think everyone listening is going to take a lot of value away from this. So let's get into these. Right, let's do this. What food would you never do a challenge with?
Ever again, Scotch eggs.
The Scotch eggs are come back out.
Lee?
What was it like collaborating with Eddie Hall?
The best ever. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Love it. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I want an answer to this. What is the best restaurant in Birmingham?
Fiesta del Asado.
Who put up the biggest challenge in your competition videos when you've gone against people?
Me.
I like it. You love baking, and what is your favourite food to make yourself?
I love making brownies, and if I'm cooking at home, steak, chips, salad.
Even the way you do that, and you're like steak, chips, salad, like you're like, oh. And finally, last question: if you could collab with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, it's really tough to pick one. Really tough. I would really love to collab with someone like Matt Does Fitness, because I feel like he does the fitness and food thing.
That's interesting,
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you two, Leonard, but you didn't, so I was a bit
disappointed.
We
can do like a 2-on-1 thing. Like
imagine that a 2-on-1, and we'd still.
No, I genuinely think we'd beat her, Lee, 2-on-1.
You think we'd beat her?
I can put a big mixed grill away, you know.
Yeah.
2-on-1, Come on.
Versus.
I mean, I'd do it. I'd give it a go just so that we could see whether it's doable or not. I would give it a go. Maybe this is something to discuss. Look, Leah, it's been amazing having you on. Brilliant first guest in the 0121 series. Anyone who's listening, I'm sure, like Ad said, has had huge amounts of value off that. I think it's really interesting finding someone who's driving through a sector and a sort of industry that's dominated by men, and they're absolutely smashing it. I think it's brilliant. And it's just great meeting nice people. You're not doing it by being a dick either, which is always great. And that's the main thing, isn't it? So look, we obviously wish you all the best. I can't wait to start seeing some of these restaurant reviews as well. And anyone who's listening, as always, guys, please make sure you subscribe, leave a review of the podcast, tell us how great it's been talking to Leah, and we can get some other like-minded, brilliant guests as well. Leah, thanks ever so much for being on.
Thanks for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I love what you're doing with rallying for Birmingham, so keep doing it.
Good stuff, love it. All right, cheers, Leah. Thanks ever so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was incredible. In fact, I think that's probably one of my favourite podcasts, Lee. She was incredible, wasn't she?
Yeah, it really was good, wasn't it? She just like loves Birmingham and loves food. Like she really, what's really nice? You've just seen someone who clearly loves what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard, and she's not saying it's easy, and it's like you know, she can just like pummel down a load of food and then crack on the next day. She's there's a lot of hard work that goes behind the scenes, but you can see that she really is like in love with what she's doing.
Yeah, the passion comes through, and just heaps of value there when she's everything she's talking about is something that I think most people can sort of like draw on. At the end of the day, Leah Shutkever as a brand, it's a business, and a lot of people don't see that. They just see this girl on YouTube putting tons of food away. Or actually, there's so much more that goes into it. She's actually building a brand and she's doing a really good job of it. I was actually like quite surprised at how much is going on behind the scenes and just how clever and how grounded she is. Yeah,
she's strategic in her thinking, the way she's approaching things. I think there's it is funny, isn't it? Because I think people just think, oh, she's just that girl on, and she just eats food. She mentioned, didn't she, about how difficult the Guinness World Record were. And she set herself a target, and she's done 21 now. She holds 21 world records, but she doesn't get anything from that. She doesn't earn any money. She doesn't get any. She gets the accolade, obviously, but it's a strategic plan. It's how do I make sure that the Leah Shutkever brand is being seen and being positioned in the right way. And she was like, there's hours of work that go into that, and I think actually the perception is that she just rocks up one day, pummels the food down, cracks on, and it's obviously not like that.
No, I agree. We need more guests like Leah, don't we? And on that, if you're listening to this, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review. When you do the review, tell us who you think we should get on from Birmingham, some more amazing characters. And if you're watching on YouTube, stick it in the comments. Is there anyone in Birmingham that you want to hear the backstory to, or ask them questions? Let us know.
100%. Right, I've been Lee.
I've been Adam.
And this has been the Drunken Brainwave, episode 1 of the 0121 series. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Ta-ra a bit.